Hello and welcome to another edition of the Dan Assor Show, sponsored by TF Connect. Today, I'm delighted and privileged to welcome Max Ball and Rachel Parker. Rachel is a director of the Association of Event Venues. Good morning, Rachel.
Good morning.
Max is executive director of venue sales at the Business Design Centre and chair of the Association of Event Venues. Going forward, I will refer to that as AEV, which is much easier. So welcome to both of you. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, Dan.
We're going to focus more on the conference that you're coming up later this month. But to start off with, and starting with you, Rachel, obviously a director of the AEV, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, for 7 years.
Yep, that's right.
It'd be great if you can just bring your role and the organisation to life.
Yeah, no, of course. So the AEV is as an association, and we represent venues of all sort of sizes and types, both across the UK, but also internationally. We've currently got 46 members, and we actually run by our members for the benefit of the members, but to the benefit of the wider industry. Basically, the venues are, they can be multi-purpose, they can be specialist venues. So we have obviously the NECs, the XLs, the BDCs, but we obviously have other venues like the Kia Oval, we have Silverstone, so we do attract other to different types of venues. So it's quite broad across the spectrum. And basically, our role is very much about bringing best practice across the industry and bringing everybody together and be able to share ideas. Working groups have always been the engine room of the AEV. So when I say working groups, we have different streams of working groups for every single little sector of running a venue. So whether you've got catering, health and safety, security, marketing, and that has really very much been the engine room of what we do over the last 17 years now. I think we've been around.
Sure, thank you. And Max, I guess same question to you. Obviously, you're the chair of the AEV and you've been associated as vice chair previously.
Yeah.
Be interesting just to understand your role really within the organisation, and again, similar question as to how you feel that the AEV, is there for advocacy for the industry.
Yeah. Well, I think Rachel summarised it really well there. I mean, Rachel does much of the heavy lifting. I'll be honest, that we couldn't do the role without her and the fabulous team we have there. So Danny and Wood, and that goes across the sort of cross-party associations as well. And I think I took over as chair, for my sins last September. So right in the eye of it. But I think that the whole purpose of it is to tackle issues collectively and sort of share best practice. I think that really shone through last year. I mean, Rachel mentioned the working groups there. I mean, there was some phenomenal stats. I think we had 14 working groups, 109 virtual meetings while in lockdown, which equates to like 1,700 interactions and over 150 hours of meetings. So it's a hugely powerful collaboration because you're pulling everyone together, particularly at that time when we were working from home and wondering what direction we were going in. So I think as chair, my role is to sort of bring the board together and hopefully steer it in the direction we've agreed. But the sum of its parts is its real strength.
Sure, and obviously you work very closely with the other industry associations, the likes of the AEV, AEO and ESSA. Can you just bring that to life and how that works over the last sort of 18 months and how it's going to work going forward? Maybe Rachel?
Yes, no, absolutely. I mean, the AEO, AEV and ESSA all come under the umbrella of the EIA, which is the Events Industry Alliance. Sure. And I think up until the pandemic, not many people knew that actually. And
no, I didn't.
we all live and work in the same building in Berkhamsted.
Oh, and I didn't even know that.
There you go, we do. We share our sort of the central function of finance and HR. So Marjorie and Terry work for all three of us, and I think what happened with the pandemic is I think actually everybody realized as members of an association, actually that is even more so is when you turn to your association for help, because the government very much wanted to talk to the associations rather than all the different members, which kind of makes sense. And we realized that actually as AEO, AEV and ESSA, we really needed to work together. So we have become much closer. We're collaborating much better. We're communicating much better. So it can only be a positive. Sure. So one of the positives that have come out of COVID. So
yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I was an exhibition organizer for many years, and if I'm being honest, I didn't really have an appreciation of any of the organizations we spoke to in terms of the work they did. I knew there was an annual conference or an award ceremony, and that was pretty much my only touch point. So I think, as you said, some of the positives that's come out of it is actually brought a lot of individuals as well as organizations together. Yeah, Max, obviously you're heavily associated. You're the executive director of venue sales at the Business Design Centre. The industry has seen a fantastic return to live events. How exciting has it been for you?
Massively so. I mean, I think it was a long time coming, and I think even I drive into work this morning, sort of giving myself a little pinch because we're setting up at the moment for Country Living Christmas,
Yes.
which is our biggest consumer show. So that's Christmas trees, vendors all set up, ready to go tomorrow. And I know how hard we work with the organisers and as an industry to get us to this position. So certainly don't take it for granted. But it seems to have bounced back far quicker and better than probably most people had hoped. So I'm really encouraged.
And we were talking earlier, Rachel, about the positive that came out of the pandemic, that organisations and associations will work closely together. I guess with the return of events, have you seen that as well, like a positive in terms of, you know, the organisers, suppliers, and venue dynamic? Has that relationship improved?
I mean, what came out of the associations was obviously the All Secure standard, which was the government approved guidance for the industry, and it was very much led with the organisers, the venues, and the suppliers. It was a three-way thing, so we had to sign up to it, and I think what's come of that is therefore the relationship has definitely got better. I think the communication has got better as well between all three, and it's had to, because otherwise, I think all three factors are all reliant on each other. So if they don't work together, then it's not going to be the success that it has been to return back.
Sure, absolutely. So want to turn our attentions to the annual conference, which is on the 26th of November.
It is.
At the Business Design Centre, as I understand it.
Venue as well.
Yep. So Rachel, coming to you again, if you can just summarise the conference for those that never heard of it, never been, if you can just tell us, you know, who it's for, what's happening there, and why people should attend.
So you started at the beginning saying I'd been here for 7 years. And I think in the first year or so that I was here, I talked about the working groups. And I just said, you know, we have this fantastic opportunity where we bring people face to face, but in their own little streams of, be it security, catering, whatever. So we decided it's our fifth conference. So let's put it that way. And we decided that actually we needed to have an opportunity to bring all of those venue people, managers, senior managers, and sort of CEO level as well, together under one roof, to basically be able to talk as venue people in an open forum and learn from each other, but also not just about that, it's about the networking side as well. So as I said, we launched it actually, funnily enough, at the BDC was the first event. So this is now going to be the fifth one, and it's grown and grown over the years. I keep wanting to say 5 years, but of course we've had a gap because we were due to have one, and we normally go in the summer. It was supposed to be summer 2020. So obviously we're now going end of November, so for 2021. And we always have a theme, and this year the theme is disruption, the new norm. And again, we'd come up with this theme actually for last year, and that was really on the back of Brexit, thinking, you know, what's going to happen with Brexit. But clearly what's happened over the last 20 months, we felt that disruption, dealing with disruption and how the impact of that and the fallout of it is so apt. We felt it was totally appropriate to keep that theme. So ultimately, very much the topics that we're doing, and I'm sure you'll go to Max to talk a bit more about the topics that we're choosing, is very much for the industry, but it's learning. It's not learning just about coming from our industry. It's learning from outside of the industry as well, and what we can learn from outside of the industry, not just purely for venue people. It's obviously a venue very much for suppliers and organisers as well.
Yeah, so thank you. I was going to ask Max the type of people that would attend. Can you bring that to
if you've got to know your audience, and it's a broad church, so it's the event managers, event planners, the director C levels as well. So it's trying to tick all the boxes, and I think Rachel's done a brilliant job with the steering group of sort of ticking all of those. Disruption, the new norm. We thought of that even before the challenges we faced, but we always start off with a really good keynote speaker. So we sort of bring in in the past we've had futurists who have given us great insight. This year we've got a really good strategic planner called Chris Patton, who's ex-Special Forces, and I've had the benefit of seeing him a couple of years ago. I think he'd be fantastic to kick us off.
So he's MD of Quirk Solutions, is that right?
Yeah, so he's a really impressive individual. I saw him, probably a couple of years ago now, but it's all about strategic planning and implementation. So obviously a key element of business going forwards.
Sure. And I understand that there's other themes, and having a look at the program. So for example, sustainability.
Yeah.
It's definitely been a key discussion point over the last 18 months. Again, trying to take a positive out of COVID, it's allowed us to press pause and think about when we restart on a number of issues, whether diversity and inclusion, but also sustainability from a venue perspective. Rachel, can you bring that to life? And,
Yes.
not just the conference, but generally from a venue perspective.
Absolutely. I mean, sustainability we've had a cross-association working group for sustainability that's been going probably for 4 or 5 years now. And actually before the pandemic, and then what progressed during the pandemic was actually writing our commitments. So we've actually got commitments for the AEO, AEV and ESSA, which we launched a few months ago, actually. So as we were coming out of the pandemic in the summer. And so that's all about giving members an idea and a helping hand as to how they can measure themselves. It's not judging each other, it's basically just how they can measure themselves. Sure. And then potentially being able to measure yourself as well with the other members, but it's not a competition. But on the back of that as well, we're obviously working with other initiatives that are going on. UFA, you've got an initiative. There's a big meeting tomorrow at COP where the pledge for net zero for carbon events is going to be launched, which is something that we've signed up to as well. And obviously at the conference, therefore, we've got a panel that is going to be able to look and look at the learnings and reflect back on what has taken place at COP. We're going to learn about, so we've got a gentleman from the production team from Identity, who's actually one part of the organisers who have pulled it together. So he's going to tell us about how it is that what they've had to consider actually hosting it and putting it
Amazing.
on. Yes. And then on top of that, Jonathan from Levy as well, the MD from Levy, is going to talk to us about from the food side of how they've had to source everything from a food, feeding everybody during COP. So from that side as well. And then we've got Karina and Anna, who also talked to us generally about sort of sustainability as well, and particularly for our industry, and where it is we can go. So yeah, I think it'll be probably one of the very good sessions and meeting sessions that people will be interested in.
And thank you, Max. Another theme I've seen is life in a post-pandemic world, which is quite a broad topic. Can you sort of bring that to life? Some of the sessions, or some of the key issues around that.
Yeah, I think it's the obvious elephant in the room. It's looking at sort of what is the new norm after sort of the pandemic we've gone through. But I think things like flexible working. I think we've all in events we work long hours and there's a lot of presenteeism and you've got to be there. But I think Steve Sayre from the O2's got lots of progressive thoughts on this, and he's going to chair that session. But it's really about understanding what employees and what companies can look like, and taking the best practices out of that and making sure we're efficient and align with other sectors as well. We've got to, you constantly hear about other industries, what they're doing and how they're working. We can't be, we're talking about migrating talent, moving to different sectors. We've got to be an attractive proposition and retain, but also hopefully attract talent.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were talking off air before that I'm doing some work with TF Connect in the recruitment sector. And Rachel, we're finding that there's a lot of people that have disappeared from the industry, maybe haven't come back because the grass has been greener on the other side in terms of not so maybe longer hours and that sort of thing. What do you think the industry can do more to attract talent and also look after the talent they've got?
I mean, I think it is one of the biggest challenges that we've got, to be perfectly honest with you, in terms of what we can do more. We obviously need to make them attractive propositions, but it shouldn't all just be about the pay grade, to be honest with you. Sure. But, there is that issue of, if you're let's say a carpet fitter who's basically got to go in on a Saturday night to lay the carpets for a show that's opening on a Sunday morning, you're not going to want to do that if you suddenly find a job, working for a builder that's, Monday to Friday, 8 till 4, isn't it? It's very different. So I guess it's looking at the working conditions, which I believe everybody is doing. And, certainly from a welfare point of view, it's something that we've looked at, again, across all 3 associations. So, but it's definitely one of those areas that we have got to look at and see how we can keep and retain and attract the talent.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's a session, Max, on the Commonwealth Games, which is coming over in 2022 or next year. Can you bring that to life again? How exciting is that?
It's a huge event, isn't it? I mean, we all look back fondly. It'll be 10 years next year that the Olympics are the biggest event.
Wow, 10 years. Yeah, I remember going. That's cool.
Yeah, it has. And the Commonwealth is absolutely massive. And I think through our links with Ian Taylor at the NEC, he's been fantastically supportive. And sort of Rachel, probably better placed than me, because she's put the we've got 2 speakers on that panel who are going to really talk about how it's going to sort of take place.
Okay, yeah, Rachel, can you expand on that?
Yeah, they're going to give us basically an overview of what is happening, the ins and outs of what the different areas that they're going to have to look at on basically organising the Commonwealth Games on the back of the pandemic. So what are the different areas that they're having to do, which maybe 5 years ago they wouldn't necessarily have to have thought about. So and I think with the Commonwealth Games, it'll be a fun, uplifting, stimulating session on the basis of. This is great. We're doing this in the UK, and we know we're good at it, and we're going to smash it out of the park. So, sure. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing some of their material, which would be great.
Okay. So if people want to get involved in the conference, attending, what's the best way for them to do that?
Best way is to come to the website www.avconference.org.uk. All the information is there. You can book. There's preferential member rates for AEV and ESSA members, and yeah, that's the best way. Or give us a call. So.
Fantastic. And Max, what's in store for the AEV maybe over the next year? Under your tenure, what's your main priorities?
Well, I think we're spending a lot of time. Obviously, we've been very busy getting restarted. So again, a huge amount of work on the all secure guidance. But I think very much it's looking forwards now. And I think along with the EIA, it's about, if you like to call it a peacetime plan. What are the learnings from the last 18 months we've been through? How do we work closely with government? How do we sort of take all the associations forward and make us stronger? And again, attracting talent and making the industry grow, because I think we're the great enabler. I think the government can now understand that we switch hotels on, restaurants, transport, the events that we run up and down the country are hugely significant. I think research is going to form a huge part of that. So making sure we've got quantifiable data that we can supply when required. So it's going to be, learnings from the past 18 months, but sort of implementing best practice.
Sure. Thank you so much for your time, Max Ball and Rachel Parker. I wish you the best of luck with the conference. And seeing
you there.
Going forward. Absolutely, I will be there.